use Superside for everything. The creative team in marketing is currently constituted of 3 teams. One is for video production, the other is for brand and illustration, and the third one is for UX UI. And Superside can perfectly plug into any of those at any time.
This is Sofia Bittolo. She's the senior project manager for Superside's internal marketing team. That means kicking off dozens of design and video projects each month, looping in the right people, setting deadlines, and ensuring those deadlines are met. All for over 13 creatives on her team. Damn, wouldn't it be nice to have a Sofia on your team? Well, with Superside, you get just that. In fact, Sofia started out on the customer side of Superside, managing creative projects for brands just like yours. And now that she's a Superside customer herself, she's the perfect person to show us how she uses Superside to deliver dozens of creative projects on tight deadlines, even when her internal creative team is at full capacity. This is how Superside uses Superside. So I guess before we actually jump into Superside and what you use Superside for and those projects, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the types of projects that you work on internally with the internal marketing team.
I would say we work mainly on 2 types of projects. The first one is more in regards of the day-to-day tasks and evergreen stuff. For example, you always have to put out ads, you always have to be creating content for social, for blogs, keeping the website updated. That's more of the day-to-day work. But you also have time-sensitive projects or bigger campaigns, such as our events, our summits, or even a website revamp that we did a while back. And those projects, you need to throw a lot of resources and address them in a completely different way that you would a day-to-day or recurring task in a way. Both of these use cases, I use Superside across all capabilities. I don't think there's a single capability that Superside offers that I haven't at some point used.
That is awesome. I mean, I just see it just from the internal team, like the types of projects. Even myself and our video team, we're part of this giant creative team pipeline. Do you want to show us kind of what that is?
So for internal planning, I use Asana. I have a bunch of different kinds of projects, but the one I want to show you today is called our creative team pipeline. You'll see here that we have a request ideas column. This is where all the other internal teams within Superside make any requests for any assets they need, and then I take it from here. You can see here that this particular Asana project basically outlines what each of my designers or each of the people on my team are currently focused on. And if you scroll all the way to the right,
you can see what I'm working on.
Yeah, this is you.
You see all of these ads that
Hey,
we're working
this
on.
is delayed. And here you see Superside. You'll see him right in the middle. I treat them almost as any other of my designers. And at any point in time, I just move over a task I might be working on and make sure that I send it to Superside and track it here. They're basically an extension of my team. I treat them almost the same, just that they have a lot of more capacity than my team at times.
So what I love about this is that you're still tracking those projects within Asana to see how it works or how it connects to everything else that we're doing. It's not just like, okay, if it's a Superside project, it goes to Superside and it's not tracked in Asana. This, I guess, allows you and the other project managers on our team to track the times, the deadlines, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. This is how it works for me. I like to make sure they're super connected, and anyone on my internal team and anyone on Superside knows how things interconnect. Of course, I also track all Superside projects on the actual Superside platform.
Right.
So this is just a reflection of what's the progress and make sure that whoever the stakeholder that owns this task is aware that we're on it. We're just handling it with Superside.
That's awesome. So I guess we can jump into that now. So once you get a request, you assign it to Superside and Asana. Next step is go into the Superside app and then you go and create a project. So I guess before we go into some of the projects, maybe this is a great way to kind of show how easy it is to actually submit a project. So you're going from Asana, opening up Superside, and then you're creating a new project for them. Exactly. I'd love to see how that looks.
The Asana usually already has all the information I need in terms of the project. So it already has a brief. I fully understand what needs to get done. And I know as well what the deadline has to be. And then I just bring this information over to Superside. So you create here on the homepage, create a project, super easy and accessible, and then select what kind of design support I need. We can just, for the sake of it, do a creative and ad creative, which is what they help us a lot with. You select a project name. This is incredible because you tell your team, your Superside internal team has a visibility of what your goals are. So you can say what channels this will go in, and this will provide visibility of, for example, what the formats and sizings of those assets should be. What's your campaign goal? How do you measure success in your team or for this particular project? You click next. They have some great thought starters. So even if sometimes I'm missing the information, such as target audience, I just fill it in here and take the time to actually think through what I'm briefing. And we can say here by your persona, And my Superside team has supported us for so long that they're pretty much up to date on who our buyer personas are, what our key messages are, what CTAs we usually use and what works or doesn't work. They're usually pretty up to speed with what we're doing. What I love about Superside as well is that they're not just executioners in a way or producing stuff for the sake of producing them, but they sometimes also come with a set of recommendations, and they sometimes know us so well that we can ask for something and they propose something additional. So I'm pretty sure it comes down to that. If you want to add any other file formats you need, any file size restrictions or information, and any additional notes, assets, references, everything.
That's cool.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Create and boom, it shipped off to them.
Almost.
Oh, one more step.
Yeah, this is one of the most important steps if you ask me. Depending on how pressing the project is, you can define when you need it by. They have 12 and 24-hour turnarounds for those bigger, faster, and easier projects if you need them super urgently. And otherwise, I just click 48 hours and I'm sure they'll get it done by then. You can even put the exact, not only date, but what time you need it by. And they usually super respect this. And yeah, from there you get a quick summary of what it's all about, and you just click submit project request. I won't do it right now because the team is gonna freak out.
Like, what is this? What is this, Sofia? This is not real.
Once you do this, I'll show you an example of an existing project I have. Something like this pops up where the project page is created and you get this channel where your CPM will reach out to you and confirm that they received the project or maybe ask any questions about the brief they had, and you'll take it from there. Everything else is focused on this project page. If you want to add, for example, if you and I would be collaborating in a project and I would want to grant you more visibility or make sure you're fully in the loop, I can also add as many team members as I want. The entire conversation around the project is based here. You have direct contact with your creative project manager.
So that used to be you.
Yeah.
You used to be on the other side chatting.
Yeah.
So obviously you're a pro here. You know how to respond to them. You kind of know all the protocols from the other side of that too.
Yeah, I think I'm able to provide them some key information that I know is super useful to them, or I think I have a better understanding of how long a project can take. I have a bit more empathy there on giving them what they need to make it happen, or additional context that I know feeds the creative director to be able to kind of really get to what I need.
What are some of those things? What would be like a pro tip that you would give someone when they're submitting a brief or giving feedback?
I think people underestimate the importance of context, for example, of really not just asking for the asset itself, but trying to communicate what it's about, what campaign is it tied to, who's your buyer persona, kind of provide a bit more information so they're able to grab whatever they're deciding and put it within that context and make sure it fits. Otherwise, for example, telling exactly what page in the website you're using, or send them references of things that have worked in the past. And those things usually really work out.
So I guess we're at this point where you're finishing up a project, they're sending you the assets. What is the next step here?
You provide feedback. You can use the features, commenting feature that they just launched to provide feedback right there. You can otherwise use any of the design tools.
Like, we're using Figma a lot in our internal, so you have our Superside team using Figma for all the design projects now?
Yeah. So when it's a Figma project, I usually share the Figma link, and we can provide any feedback or reviews right here, engage in any conversations with the project manager or the creative director directly within the platform. And we just let them know on the chat that feedback has been provided, and they'll let us know when we can expect the following review. Once a project is approved, the final deliverable they send me is a packaged folder with final exports, so final selection of the assets in the best resolution possible and the final formats that were requested, as well with the working files. So I always have access to any design files I might need for any final adjustment, changes, or even for future use to make sure I can work off them.
And you can even use those as references for future projects.
Absolutely.
That you submit.
Actually, now that you bring that up, one of the things Superside has helped us with is templatizing. So we create assets at massive scale for a bunch of different channels, and they've supported us in creating this huge Figma libraries that store all our blog headers, illustrations. They've helped us create a bit of a design system. We're still working on it, but it makes our design so much more scalable, and it makes sure we're always on brand.
Can you show us that?
Sure. This is an illustration library. You can see in the name, it's a work in progress, but they already provided so much value to us. These are the kind of projects that my team doesn't necessarily have capacity for. So I know that I can rely on Superside and not deviate my team from whatever priorities they have at that moment. As well as these are the kinds of efforts that then my internal team will benefit from and make them work so much faster, but they never had to deviate from what they had to get done that day. So this is an example of the illustration library we're currently building. But we do this also for one-off kind of projects. For example, our gather and grow assets are templatized, and that way we can really scale super quickly whatever we want to do and really turn around super quickly.
Yeah, and it's awesome because it's the same branding. It's just a matter of changing the text, maybe the headshots there. If you zoom in there, you can kind of see the elements, right? It's just a matter of changing the text, but the logo stays the same and the CTA is always the same. So I see on the left there with the pages, I'm guessing it's just a matter of duplicating that page and then replacing the assets.
Exactly. Since this is templatized, for example, this is the kind of project that Superside could take with 12 or 24-hour turnarounds, because they don't have to create anything from scratch. They just go off a template and they can provide all these assets within 24 hours.
Okay, so you get the Figma file for a lot of these projects where you can save and edit or give to one of our internal designers to edit later on, obviously make templates. But when it comes to getting the actual file and getting the, you mentioned the exported high-res image, that's all within the platform, right? So you just download those files directly through there. Do you want to show us that as well?
Yeah, correct. You have this tab within your project, so it's by individual project, which is great since you have them consolidated in one place. And you just go to the project files tab, and you'll see here consolidated all the assets we've worked on. What's great about this is you can tell them what format you want them in. So I wanted to just, since we're here, it might be nice to show you how something they've created, such as these headshots, which might seem like pretty simple, then becomes such an important part of a bigger project we're working on. So here you'll see, this is our Figma file for our Momentum Summit, which we hosted last year. They were used across a bunch of different assets and different channels. So from email to landing page designs to social assets, again, they can be plugged in at the scale you want them to. For example, in this case, my team was focused on net new illustrations, for example, but they really took a load off us in making this production work, to put it one way.
Yeah, so this is a great transition actually. So you mentioned that there's kind of 3 different kinds of projects that you use Superside for. I guess you think of in general.
Yeah.
So maybe you can go in a little bit in depth there and then walk us through some of those projects.
Sure. This is actually something that they teach us in the customer facing side. And it's just a framework on how to think about projects. And there are 3 types: production work, creative work, and concepting. The first one, production, pretty much just means you're working off something templatized or reformatting an existing asset of some sort. You don't have to create anything from scratch. That is production work. That is what I just showed you. And it's also what you have available for 12 to 24-hour turnarounds. Then you have creative work. Creative work takes a bit more time. You're usually creating something from scratch. This can be, for example, a net new illustration, a sort of banner, or assets that you've never created before, a landing page, or a video you need help with. These all fall under creative projects. Creative projects take a bit more time and a bit more attention, which is why Superside usually involves a design director as well, which is your partner in making sure whatever is being created is on brand and it's aligned with your goals. And the third type of project is concepting or campaign concepts. Here, the support is broader than just design, and they bring in as well an art director as well as a copywriter, and they can come up with concepts as well as copy and some broader ideas for different sets of campaigns. Do you want me to run you? I can show you some examples of these different kinds of projects so you can get a better idea from.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Do you want to do that? Production work is what I just showed you. So Gather and Grow, our webinar, is a perfect example of this. Assets are templatized. They can turn them around in under 24 hours. They run off very clear guidelines and a very standardized way of working. Another example of a production project is when we create one asset, but we need them in a bunch of different sizes for other social media channels. They help us produce them faster, basically. So that's why it's called production work. It's just production. So let me show you a project for creative. This is one of my favorite projects we've ever worked with them because it was an ad creative, but we needed illustration work. So what we did is we briefed them that what we needed for the ad. We told them what the goal is. We wanted to create these characters that seem very familiar so that when you're scrolling, you kind of have to do a double take. But it really had to connect with creatives specifically. The team was incredible and they came up with these sketches at first, which was super helpful in helping us provide feedback before too much work was put into it. And if you want to see the final result, so this is where it came out. And what's great about this is they sent us the working files for the vectorized version, and internally our animator animated it and gave life to Frida and gave it her a bit more of a personality. So you can see her here interacting with the text and the flowers.
That's awesome. And I think that's like the true power here is like they gave us the working files that we can then run with and do other things with.
Exactly. Results here were pretty crazy. It's one of our best performing ads so far last year. Just on LinkedIn, it generated over 150 qualified leads. So yeah, it paid off.
Definitely did.
The way I use the campaign concepting service is when we're all out of ideas, we need a bit of inspiration, we want some fresh minds on this. We've seen it so many times that you know it by heart this far. So what we do is plug in Superside and we're sure they're gonna give us a fresh view that my internal team didn't see it because we're so close by. This project, what we did was tell them we wanna increase call requests from our social channels with a paid campaign. So I'm gonna show you what the deliverable from their side was. The first deliverable they come up with is they show you, as you can see, it's just called Book a Demo Project. And the first deliverable they show you is they create 3 different proposals on ways to achieve this. You can decide to go with the 3 of them, or you can decide to go with 1 of them, or iterate on any of them. As you can see, they provide a creative insight on why they believe this concept would be good, what the idea itself is, and finally, a fully developed concept along with a few ideas on how to execute it, which I think is incredibly helpful.
So what I love about this, they're giving you the ideas, and then the next step would be either, okay, we'll do it internally, or again, you can brief Superside again of like, here's the concept, let's go with this, let's roll with it, and let's actually create these concepts.
This is a concept, this is why we think it would work, and this is how you execute it. Then what you do is you decide, as you said, do I take it internally to my team, or do I let Superside just do this from A to Z and finish with the graphic design of it as well? They provide different messaging, different visual references. So again, even if you decided to take it to your internal team, you have something concrete to work off of, as well as not just work off of on the design itself, but they propose post copy as well, and why the CTA, or how to bring in the concept into copywriting. This final one is the one we actually went for, and the concept was, it's not too good to be true, it's Superside, which I think is relevant to our conversation.
It totally is, because I think a lot of people may be watching this, they're like, this gotta be too good to be true. You're telling me like they'll set you up with this Figma file, they'll concept all these things, they'll create the templates for you, and then you can go and say, hey, we need to do that again in 12 hours. It's exactly that. It's not too good to be true. It is Superside.
It's Superside.
It is super.
Our customer success manager, every quarter and every end of year, shares a bit of data on how you use your plan, which I think is super insightful and could be super interesting to see. This is the annual report she made for me. So we're in an end-to-end creative. When I said I use all the Superside capabilities, I wasn't kidding. That's why we have the end-to-end creative plan, which offers all the capabilities across the board. It offers 265 hours per month. You'll see in 2022, we used a total of 2,846 hours for a monthly average of 237.
237 hours every single month.
Yep. So in 2022, we completed a total of 111 projects. You can see here how all capabilities were used at some point in the year, as well as a distribution on how much we use per hour. You can also see a distribution here on how many hours we spend on each capability per month. For example, remember I told you about that September 1st deadline? Here you can see the purple here. That is landing page work, which clearly is reflected in August, right before our deadline. But at the beginning of the year, we need a lot of motion graphics support. I believe you joined the team at that point?
Yeah.
You needed a lot of support when you first started. So that's what you see here.
Yeah, that was a fun time. So this is really awesome. This is something that everybody gets, every customer gets. Is it something they need to ask, or is it just given at the end of every month?
It's just giving. I think it's super helpful. Every so often, I meet with my customer success manager, who makes sure that I'm getting the best out of my hours, that I have the plan that's correct for myself. For example, last year, we upgraded plan twice. We started in a digital advertising plan, which didn't include concepting, and we decided to try it. So we changed to end-to-end creative and used it so much that we decided to upgrade to a level 2. That's why you see so much hour usage.
Okay, so you kind of went through your entire process from when like project comes to fruition. Maybe it's briefed in from someone else in the marketing team that goes directly in Asana. You have our entire internal team, and you showed us how you used Superside as basically an extension, another person. But within that person, it's like 1,000 people or whatever we need, really. And then you showed us, how you brief projects, how you go through projects, how you work with the people on the other side of Superside. And then you showed us the different types of projects, the production, creative, and concepting projects. So now I guess we can kind of bring it all together. How does Superside really plug into the team and, save the sanity of our team and all the people that you manage?
I think you know this as well as I do. Superside has grown threefold maybe in the last year, and the marketing team alongside that. Therefore, we had more requests, more creative needs, and we did hire incredible people, but being such a design-oriented company, we wouldn't be able to do everything we do if we didn't have Superside. So basically, they helped me not burn out my team, but they also helped me increase headcount without actually having to hire. So again, I told you at the beginning, I treat them as an extension of my team. I treat them almost as an additional designer to my team. And that's how I think of it. They're one of my limbs, without which I wouldn't work in the same efficiency probably, or the same sanity.
And what would you say is your favorite part about Superside, the platform, and the people that you work with?
Definitely the people, not just the culture at Superside, which we're familiar with, but you get to meet people across the world with 100 different backgrounds, and they're so well prepared that in the same way I moved to marketing, I actually stole my CPM from the account-facing side, and he currently works in marketing. So they're so good, I needed them for myself, basically.
So you stole the creative project manager that you worked with through Superside, says, no, work with me full time.
Exactly.
And then you just get more CPMs, more creative project managers, obviously, to fill that place. So
Exactly.
that's the beauty of it. But you've gone the same route as Sam. You've gone from the customer-facing side to now the internal side using Superside, and it only makes sense that you're like our power user. You're the one that knows how to use it to its fullest, and I think it's great that you're able to kind of walk us through how you use it from end to end, the different types of projects, and it's been a really great insight to see how you use it to its fullest.
If your internal design team is burnt out or up to the brim, if your internal team is amazing, but they just need a few sparring partners, or they just need to be focused on the right things at certain times. If you're a marketer and you just need a bit more support, or increase your headcount without actually increasing your headcount, Superside's for you. It's completely seamless, it's adaptable to you. You work with people from around the world at a quality that you've never seen before. I've been a project manager for customers, I've been a customer, and I'm a fan. So don't miss out.